Today we are going to be discussing Canada visa refusals. In this day and age that Canada has told us point blank that its visa application process is going to be more rigorous as it is working on reducing its numbers, it means that there are going to be more visa refusals. You want to make sure that as much as it depends on you, you did everything right. If you intend to apply for a Canada visa and you have come across this video, consider yourself blessed. You have had a refusal and you are thinking of reapplying. I am sure this video will do you a lot of good and probably would help you understand why you got the refusal in the first place. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If today is your first time here, kindly take a seat by subscribing and being part of this lovely family. If you're a returning subscriber, you are the reason I am here. I was eager to meet you again. Thank you for coming back. There are so many reasons why your Canada visa may be refused. We are going to look at the most common reasons why your Canada visa may be refused. Before we go into the reasons, let us keep in mind that one, talking about visa, we are talking about a temporal visa. So either you are either wanting to travel to Canada as a visitor or as a student. It's not a permanent stay. Visa officer would want you to convince him or her that your application to go to Canada is indeed for a temporal duration. All the documents you submit to the visa officer should point to the fact that you are going to go back to your home country after the duration of your stay. Keep that in mind. Secondly, keep it in mind that for Canada visa application, there is no interview. So you would have no chance to explain anything further. Make sure that all your documents and any supporting documents you attach are very well explained and comprehensive. Do not assume the officer will understand. Make sure they are very comprehensive and they are very easy to be understood. Thirdly, it will be very prudent for you to try to look at your own application from the visa officer's eye. Look at your own application from the visa officer's eye. With all this at the back of your mind whilst you are putting in your application, it will help you to be able to put in a very strong and solid application. Now let's go to the reasons. The very first and the most common reason is financial status. Now, for someone who is looking at traveling to Canada and returning back to your home country, either for visit or for school, you need to have a very strong financial status. You need to be able to display a very strong financial status. And the documents you need to support this would include your bank statement, your pay slip, and also personal assets. So if you have things like houses, if you have cars, if you have land, you will need all the documents of these things to attach to your application to show how financially sound you are. Because traveling is not for everyone. You need to convince the officer that you are very well grounded in your home country and staying in Canada would not even interest you at all in the first place because you have so much going on at home looking at your financial status. The money in your account is enough to fund your travel and you even have more than enough to live on when you return back home. So assume your whole travel expenditure amounts to, let's say, 5,000 and all the money in your bank account is 5,000 or 5,500. There's a high possibility that you are going to get a refusal because you do not have enough money to fund your travel. Who would want to travel with all the money they have and come home to nothing? So you need to have adequate money to fund your travel and even have a lot more remaining. When it comes to your bank statement, also try to avoid last-minute lump deposits. Try as much as possible to avoid last-minute lump deposit. Try to stay away from fake bank statements, as that is a whole different issue. Try to stay away from fake bank statements. And also try to have documents of all assets you have. If you have a house, have a document. If you have a car, have documents. If you have lands, have documents that show all these. Have documents that show all these. The next reason why your visa may be refused may be based on your employment status. You stand a higher chance of getting a visa when you are gainfully employed in your home country. Now, when you are gainfully employed in your home country, it also goes further to prove your source of income, because mind you, we first submitted a bank statement, right? But where are you getting these monies from? The fact that you are employed shows the source of the money in your bank statement. Now, what documents do you need to attach to support your employment status? You need to attach a letter from your employer, your employment letter, and also a leave of absence, which tells the visa officer that your employer knows that you are going to travel for a period of time and you are going to be back. In fact, if it's for school, the employer should even be able to state how you having to go to school comes back to benefit the company as a whole. So you should have a leave of absence from your employer and also your employment letter to give you a strong employment status. If you are self-employed, whatever business you are doing should be registered so that you use that document to prove your employment status. It will be very difficult when you have no documents to prove this and you are self-employed. The visa officer wouldn't know because there are no documents that shows where you are working or that you own a business or anything of the sort. So if you own a business, please do well that you have a business certificate. Even if you are not thinking of traveling, get the business certificate. You have no idea when traveling will come, and then these things will come very handy to you. So please register your businesses and have a business certificate. No matter how small the business you are doing is, please do well to register the business and get a business certificate. It is very, very important when it comes to traveling. The third reason why your visa may be refused will be because you were not able to state clearly what your purpose of visit is, or your purpose of visit was not convincing enough. Let's look at these scenarios. Two people put in a visa application that they are attending a wedding, and then one person goes a step further to attach the wedding invitation card the person sent to him, and the other person did not do that. The person who attached the invitation went a step further to even attach photos of themselves and this person when they were back home, right from, say, primary school days and how they had a relationship going. Which of these two people do you think is likely to get the visa approved? Putting on the lens of the visa officer, which of these two people? Aside this, all other things are the same. If the visa officer has to approve for one, which of these two people do you think he would approve the visa for? The one who just stated that they are going for a wedding with no invitation card or photos with the person, I mean nothing to show the relationship you have with this person, or the one who also attached a wedding invitation card and even went a step further to attach photos of themselves with this person who is getting married far back in their school days to show that yes, they really had this close relationship, and that is why it's very important for her to be present at the person's wedding. Which of these two people do you think is likely to get their visa approved? If you are going for a tour, make sure to add a full itinerary to your visa application. If you are going to school, I mean, you should know the documents, your acceptance letter and all that you need to attach to your visa application process. The next reason why your visa may be refused is the proposed duration of stay. Your proposed duration of stay. So whilst you are putting in your application, How many weeks or months did you propose that you are going to stay? Your proposed duration of stay should be in line with your purpose of visit. Imagine that you want to come to Canada just to attend a conference. Maybe the entire conference is a 3-day conference or a 1-week conference, and then you propose that you are going to be in Canada for 6 months. Guys, what do you think? You are attending a 1-week conference, and then you propose that you are coming to be in Canada for 6 months just because you know that your visitor's visa allows you a maximum of 6 months to stay in Canada. What do you think? If you do this, you make the visa officer doubt that you are going to come back after your stay. Make the visa officer very suspicious of your application. Why would you want to stay 6 months just for a 1-week conference or even for a 3-day conference? If you are attending a wedding or a graduation ceremony, which is a day's event, why would you propose that you're going to stay for 6 months, which is the maximum? As much as you can, try to avoid the maximum. Let your duration make sense, taking into consideration your purpose of travel. The next reason why your Canada visa may be refused can also be based on your travel history. Now, not having any travel history at all may lead to your Canada visa application being refused, because if you haven't traveled anywhere all this while, why do you suddenly want to travel? If you haven't traveled anywhere, why do you want to travel now? Not having any travel history may be a reason why your visa may be refused. Now, let's take these two scenarios. There's this person here who has traveled to the USA, the UK, Netherlands, and is now applying for a Canada visa. And there's me who has not traveled anywhere outside Ghana before, and both of us are applying for a Canada visa. Putting on the lens of the visa officer, if you have to give one of us, who do you think you would give and why? Who do you think is more likely to return to Ghana when they are given the visa? Mind you, I told you to keep in mind that we are very interested at proving to the visa officer that we are going to come back. So based on our travel history, I have no travel history at all. The other person has traveled to the USA, UK, and the Netherlands, and we are all putting in a Canada visa application. Who is more likely to get it? So you stand a higher chance of getting a visa if you have traveled to places and you have a good travel history. It shows that you go and come, so you are more likely to come this time too. If you have never traveled outside, the probability that you may not come back is higher than somebody who has traveled so many times. The next reason why your Canada visa may be refused is lack of family ties in your home country. Lack of strong family ties in your home country. So, are you married? Do you have children? Having strong ties at home really adds weight to your visa application, because the visa officer is likely to think that once this person has all these people at home, the probability for them to stay and not come back is very less. You have a wife, you have children, your parents are still living, your siblings are all there. But how do you prove this to the visa officer? How do you prove these strong ties that you have to the visa officer? Because it is important to let the visa officer knows that you have these very strong ties at home, and these people are reason enough for you to come back. If you are married, yes, you would add your marriage certificate, but is that enough? I will say no. Marriage certificate alone is not enough. You would want to add things like photos. And I'm not just talking about wedding photos. I'm talking about normal, everyday photos that you need to have a personal relationship with someone to have those photos. I'm talking about photos with you and your wife just at home, photos with you and your children playing together, photos with you and your wife stepping out on a date, going out to going out to eat. I mean, normal everyday photos with you and your siblings, photos where you are celebrating birthday party of your parents or any of your siblings, family get together, photos that you can see and realize that this is someone who appreciates and value the relationship they have with their family. So that tells every officer that looking at the relationship this person has with the family, he is more likely to come back when he is granted this visa. The marriage certificate alone is not enough. Everybody can get a marriage certificate, but the daily, everyday photos makes your case stronger. It makes your application more solid. Let's look at these two different scenarios. So both of us are married, okay? Both of us are married. And then I decide to put in my marriage certificate. That is enough for me. I decide to put in my marriage certificate and then list my parents' names and my siblings' names. And I also added my children's birth certificates to my application. And then another person decides to put in the marriage certificate, yes, put in their children's birth cert, yes, but also added photos of their children's naming ceremonies where all the families were together, their children's birthday celebrations where all the families were together, quality time they spent with their children's first day at school where they were there, their children's PTA meetings or visiting their children in school where they were there with their children, their parents home get together, family get together where they were all there with their parents and siblings and everybody in those photos. The person goes a step further to add these photos to their application. Which of these two people do you think stand a better chance of getting a visa approval? Your guess is as good as mine. The one who went a step further to add photos, because photos are worth 1,000 words. Photos are worth 1,000 words. They speak volumes. They can tell, you can look at a photo and tell whether these people have a good relationship or not. So if you have those photos, make good use of them. If you do not have those photos and you are thinking of traveling, please be conscious and start capturing those moments. They will come in handy one day. They would really come in handy one day. What if I don't have family, I don't have a wife, doesn't mean my visa is going to be refused. That is not what it means. All things being equal, the person who has all these stands a higher chance of getting a visa approved compared to someone who is very young and not married and has no children, and probably the parents are even all dead. And so you see, the likelihood for something home to pull this person back is very minimal because this person has no family ties. This person can decide not to come back and they'll be fine because they have no family ties. The other aspect of family ties can be to the country you want to travel to. So you want to come to Canada. You can also be refused based on the strong family ties you have in Canada. Mind you, you are coming on a temporal visa. The type of visa you are coming on demands that you go back to your country. So anything that may make it more likely for you to stay back is a red flag. That involves having strong family ties in Canada as well. The scenario I gave, okay? So assuming I'm young, I'm not married, I have no children, my brothers are in Canada, my parents are in Canada, my grandparents are in Canada, and I'm applying for a visit visa to Canada. What is the probability that I will come back? Looking at the fact that I have no family ties in Ghana, this person must be able to show beyond reasonable doubt that although they have no family ties in Ghana, they have so many other things that ties them to Ghana. They have a business ongoing. They have a business in Ghana, and they have lands, they have property, so much economic ties. So if you are not able to prove social ties, probably you have so much economic ties, or even you do not have family, but you are a leader of a religious group, or you are a leader of an NGO back home, or you hold some position where you are working actively, and that ties you, that position you hold. It can even be a church position that ties you to your home country. If you have no family back home, you should be able to show beyond reasonable doubt how some other things, how some social clubs you join, or some activities, or some roles you play ties you to your home country. I believe we are getting this. If you are following to this point, I believe we are all trying to appreciate how we should think when putting in a Canada visa application. Let me take a break and ask you if you have subscribed to this channel yet. If you have not, kindly do me a favor and do so now, so that you do not miss my videos. Okay? The thing with subscription is whenever I post a new video, you will get a notification, and then you'll be among the first people to see the video. If you are getting value from this video, kindly do well to subscribe so that you do not miss my subsequent videos. Thank you. Let's move on to the next point. Why your visa application may be refused. Your visa may also be refused on the basis of your host's documentation. So the host is the person inviting the principal applicant to Canada. So if you are being invited, if you are coming on someone's invitation, what documents do you need to add? You need to attach the invitation letter from the person inviting you. You also need to attach the person's proof of funds. And then we need to know the person's status in Canada. You need to attach a document that tells the person's status in Canada. Is a person a citizen? Is a person a permanent resident? Is a person a student? You need to attach a document to show what status the person who is inviting you has in Canada. Refusal to do this, or refusal to add enough documents to show this, can lead to your visa being refused. The next reason why your visa application may be refused can be based on your age and your marriage status. Now let's look at this scenario. There's this young man who is 25 years. He's not married. He's single. He's 25 years. He's single. He's unemployed. He's not also a student. He's not a full-time student. And his parents are even not in Ghana. What do you think? What are the chances of this young man getting a visa to Canada? He's young, he's not married, he's not employed, he's not a student, his parents and siblings are not in Ghana. There's a very high probability that this young man will leave Ghana and not come back, because he has no ties at all to his home country. He has no ties at all to his home country. So it is basically about your ties to your home country, your social and economic ties to your home country. Applying for a visa to Canada, temporal visa to Canada, is basically about proving your social and economic ties to your home country. So if you do not have any social or economic ties there is a high probability that your visa will be refused. The last but not the least is misrepresentation. What is misrepresentation? Misrepresentation can be in the form of hiding some information. Okay, so what information are you likely to hide? Hiding information like previous refusals you've had, previous visa refusals you've had. Say you are putting in a Canada visa application and you've in the past been refused visa to the USA. You need to disclose that information because Canada and USA share databases, and they would know that you were refused visa, and in your visa application you are asked, okay, so if you say no whilst you have been refused visa to the USA before, you have lied, and that is misrepresentation. Also, adding falsified documents in your application. So falsified documents like fake employment letters, like fake bank statements. Once that even amounts to fraud, and once you are caught, you receive a ban of 5 years that you cannot come to Canada now or even in the next 5 years. So you would want to do everything possible to avoid hiding information and also using falsified or fraudulent documents in your visa application. If an agent is doing your application on your behalf, do well to be involved in the process so that you are sure the information the agent is using for you really represents you. The information the agent is using for your application really represents you. If that is not an issue, why would somebody get a visa? Yeah, but when they get to the port of entry and they ask, what is your wife's name? That becomes an issue. The person gets confused. It could be that you put in the application that you are single. So if you know you put in the application that you are single and the border agent asks, what is your wife's name? That shouldn't confuse you. You should just say, I'm single. Okay, but then if you are not aware, then you start to think, oh, did the agent say I'm married? Did the agent say, or they ask you, what is your last son's name? And you know you have no children. If you were part of the process and you know that that is the information you put there, you will not be confused, or you will not wonder about that. When you are not part of the application process, then you are thinking, why did the agent put there that I have a child or not? And then you get confused and you don't know what to say. And at that point, you can, even after receiving the visa, you can be refused entry into Canada. So please make sure that you are part of the process. You know every information that the agent is using. You know that they are true and they duly represent you. Okay, so that you can put in a very strong application, an application that is genuine and true and really represents you and your interests. And this strong application, after putting in a very strong application, you stand a very high chance of receiving visa to Canada. Thank you so much for staying with me till this time. I hope we have learned so much about Canada visa refusals, and if you are going to put in an application, there is a strong probability that we are going to get approval in the first instance. If you have had a refusal, I hope that at the end of this video, probably you are now beginning to understand why your visa was refused. I pray that you take your time and go through the entire process again. Let me not end without saying that through it all, as a believer, prayer counts. Do not forget to pray as you put in your Canada visa application. Prayer counts and prayer goes a long way. Thank you so much. See you in my next video. Bye.